Hey guys, James here today and welcome to a beginner's basic to building in The Sims 4. So obviously over the last couple of weeks or so, there's been a lot of people asking, what are the cheats that I use? How do you do this? How do you do that? So I thought I'd do a general overview of build mode and all of the cheats I use to make all of the things that I make. So for example, I think, over there is where I built a house on top of a mountain using lots of cheats. There's another house on top of stuff. And anyway, so I'm gonna show you all the cheats that I use and how you can sort of work with them and make some interesting buildings or just do things that you didn't know how to do, right? I'm just gonna grab out a room because I don't know, we'll just grab out this room. This looks good. So one of the first things I get asked is when you're placing an item, you can see it obviously goes by the grid and it rotates at 45-degree angles and it always is stuck on the grid. And people always ask, how do you do this? Oh, and how do you do this? Whoa! So this is actually a pretty useful and really simple and very handy thing. That's a lot of adjectives right there. But it's pretty simple. Hold down the Alt key on your keyboard. As you're placing, it'll move around freely, and then you can rotate it. Now, I'm also using the Sims 3 camera mode. So if you ever look in your options and then go to game camera, the Sims 3 camera, that's what I use. I find that much easier to build with, and that's what I've always used. So some of the controls and some of the movements might only be possible in Sims 3 camera mode. I'm not actually 100% sure on that, but that's what I use just in case you're wondering. So that allows me to sort of place it, and then you click and hold to rotate however you want. And then you can sort of move it wherever you want as well. Now, obviously, that's not going to place anywhere because we don't have the cheat on that allows us to overlap items. Because a lot of people often ask as well, how do you get, like, let's say this bag or something, like, really close to the bed? Because I would often maybe put it there or something, just have it sitting next to the bed. But currently, you just can't do that. So that's a very simple cheat that is also very powerful. So if you open up the cheat window with Control, Shift, and C and type in bb.moveobjects, and hit enter, that will now allow us to place this anywhere we want, obviously on the grid. But if we combine what we learned just a moment ago by holding down Alt, we can actually just put it, freely wherever we want. We can sort of just shove it on the end of the bed and just get it in there. Now, if you do want a more in-depth look at this Move Objects cheat, I do have a tutorial on that goes in depth and shows you how to use it in lots of ways. But this is just a quick overview of how it all works. Now, one of the other really powerful things with this cheat, and it's one of the ways that I was able to build a mountain, is that with Move Objects, not only can you do this and place it sort of wherever you want inside of other objects, you can also move it up and make it float. So if we ever look like this, if we press the 9 key on the keyboard, it'll start floating up. And now it is floating, and we can sort of place it wherever we want, and we can also press 0, the number 0, and it will come back down. Now, what you might notice is if this happens, hang on, watch this. If I press 9 to move it up, you see my camera sort of flicked over there. If that happens, it's because you have a saved camera position. And I do have a tutorial on those if you want to learn more. But for now, if you want to move an item up, that's happening to your camera, just hold down Control and then press 9 and it will move up without moving your camera. And then you can still just press 0 to move it down. So that is how you move objects up and down. And that obviously works for anything in the game as well. So you can move a bed up, you can put it like this now, because now we've got Move Objects on, we can also put it over the top of this. You can see now it's sort of over the top of the chair, and you can actually use this. This, as far as I'm aware, should be usable where I've placed it. So if we get my sim, it's just my test sim, she'll come in, she'll jump into the bed, and now she's sort of sleeping in a loft. And you can use this to be able to create really cool things. This is a way that you can get, like, for example, maybe a desk underneath. This doesn't always work. You have to really position these exactly right. So if I do this and it doesn't work right now, it just know that sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. But if we put this here, we might, if we're lucky, have put it in. Did we put it in the right spot? No, we didn't. But if you can sort of shimmy it around, let's just say shove it in the wall a little bit. Can you get in it now? There you go. So now she can get into the bed, and we should be able to use the computer as well. So if we go play a game. Oh, no, she can't get to it. Well, anyway, the point is you can do that. You just have to move it around quite a lot. So that is the Move Objects cheat that allows us to put things wherever we want and also make them float, which is really, really handy. Now, another one that I get asked a lot about, especially in the recent videos where I've been doing all the rocks, is how to scale an item up like this. You can, again, do this with any object, but I was just using rocks to demonstrate. You can make a giant chair if you want. Very, very easy as well. Now, I believe, I don't know how this works on non-standard English keyboards, because it is the square bracket keys that does it. So right square bracket will scale up and left square bracket will scale down. I'm not 100% sure what it is, because I know people with foreign keyboards have had issues with this before. Sorry, I can't answer what it is on that, but on a standard QWERTY English keyboard, it's the left and right square brackets that will scale up and down. And this is so, so cool. I mean, sure, you can have a giant chair, but you can also then start building mountains out of it and do all these kind of crazy things. Okay, so that covers pretty much the basics. So we've got free object placement and rotation, and we have the ability to move something up, which you can move all this stuff up at once, which is pretty cool. Now, to get a little bit more involved, you can do a lot of other cool things as well. So when it gets a little bit more complicated here, but if we have a table, on top of tables or desks, for example, there's a bunch of little slots on here that you can place stuff on. And with move objects, I can overlap these, obviously. But now we've taken up every single spot. There's 6 spots. We've taken them all up. We can't place anything else. But this is a handy little trick that I use. And I do have a separate tutorial on this as well, but I thought I'd chuck it in here too. So if we then get another table, place an item there. So... and make sure you have the move objects cheat on still. If you take that item off, you'll notice that it's at the exact same height. Now, if you combine this with holding down the Alt key that we learnt earlier, you can see we can place it anywhere. And this means we can then place this item wherever we want on this desk and rotate it however we want as well. So what you can do, in effect, is start getting a bunch of extra items that don't take up space on the desk in terms of what the Sims can actually interact with. But you can start really, really cluttering stuff up. These are just random items. They don't really make any sense for a desk, but I think you get the idea. So if you get that in there, and then you can get... can these go? No, that's can't go on a desk. What about... let's get one more thing. How about some pots? Here we go. You get some pots on the desk. Right there. Then you remove the ones that you were just using as placeholders. And then you have those items on the desk. And then you can just put on your computer or whatever you want. And you have all these extra clutter items that you couldn't normally put, especially in those positions. Now, the only downside to this is if you do move the desk, obviously none of the stuff moves with it. But if you're 100% certain where you want to put it, that's a really handy way to do it. Now, one of the other common questions that I get asked is how do you cycle through color swatches without placing the item, or without going through like this, right? And looking at the tiny little thumbnail. Because the other way to do it is you'd go here and then you'd use the recolor tool up here, or press R, and then you'd go through like this. There is a really, really handy way to do that, which that I discovered a while ago, and I did do a separate video on this. There might be a little bit of a trend here. I did separate videos on all of these things in the past, but thought I'd put them all in one. So if you press the plus key on the number pad, it will cycle through all the color swatches. If you press the minus key, you can go back. So if you're like, oh, let's go through here. Oh, actually, I like the one before this. Just press minus, you go back. Plus, you go forward. Now, this does require that you have a number pad. So unfortunately, this won't work for everyone because not everyone has a number pad on their keyboard or on their laptop. But because it doesn't work on the regular plus and minus keys, because the regular plus and minus keys are zoom in and zoom out, as you can see. But the number pad... cycle color swatches, which is a really, again, really handy one, because especially when you're placing like a bed in a room, let me just get a new one of these, and you're not sure what color is going to work best, it's much easier to just flick through them super quick like this than it is to place it and then go through like this, and it's just so much quicker, and it really speeds things up that way. So that covers kind of all the more little build mode cheats and, I guess, quote-unquote hacks that I use to either make building easier or make it a little bit more diverse and get something a bit different in there. Now, as for general building tips and advice, you know, just when you start a home, usually what I would suggest, if you're having trouble starting to build, what you can do is, one of the most powerful things I would suggest is just going to Google Images, searching the style of house that you're after. So, I don't know, let's say you're trying to build a Victorian, just search Victorian home or modern home. And just have a look at pictures and get inspiration from some of those. Then, if you're in the game, usually what is a good starting point if you've got nothing else is just to build, literally just build a, okay, don't go diagonal though, build a square, and then let's go from there. So let's say, oh, there's a square there. Let's start trying to make this look a little bit more interesting. So we could add a little bit of the house coming out this way, and then maybe we don't want a square, we'll make it more of a shape like this. Ooh, that's starting to look pretty good. And then one of the general rules, not a rule, one of the general, I guess, ideas that I try and follow is I try not to leave too much flat wall space. So if I have a part of the house, and also when I'm building, I'm always thinking about how the roof is going to work, because that's one of the other things that people ask a lot about, is just how to get better at roofing. Now, I do have a separate tutorial on roofing as well. All of the things I'm talking about in this video, I do have a whole Sims 4 tutorial playlist that goes into a lot more depth, but this is just, again, just a quick overview of some of the techniques. So, for example, roofing on this, I can already see that I'm going to have a regular roof sort of coming across this way, something like this, and then I would definitely have another gabled roof coming back into the house from the front. So I would do something like that. It's pretty simple, but you'll notice that from the side, you get the eave of the roof sort of cutting through. There's a couple of ways you can fix this. A couple of roofing tips as well. So there's a whole, like when you click on a roof, you might notice, wow, there's a lot of little things you can click on here, and it might seem a little overwhelming, but it's pretty simple. So obviously the arrows just change the size of the roof. So left and right will just make it like wider, and then this will just make it longer at the front and the back. But then these arrows here, these guys are really cool. So this allows you to either remove the eave completely or extend it really far down. But what a lot of people don't know is if you hold down the shift key, you can move one side of the eaves at a time. So you can have the eave going all the way down on that side, but none on this side, which is really, really handy in some situations. So we can bring it up. And then if you just want to even again, just let go of shift and it will just reset like that. And then the little spheres that we have here allow you to curve the roof, which you might already be aware of. But if you're not, there you go. And that will allow you to do that. So you can get a little curved roof in there. But where I'm going with this. So we have this roof. For example, if you had something like this, the roof was coming through, you might think, oh, that doesn't look very nice, just stopping there. A couple of ways we can solve this. We could either remove the eave and then it wouldn't be a problem. Or what I would tend to do is either extend the width of this part of the house so it just goes beyond where that roof joins, and then you have something looking like that, and from the side it looks fine. Or you could either move this over one this way, right? So you'd either extend the house or just move this section over. That is usually the way I would go about it. Or I guess there is technically a third option. You could just extend this back through the other side, have the roof come all the way through, and then that also looks fine there with the roof going through that way. So that's kind of a simple way to do it. Now, if you're looking at this and you're like, oh, it's kind of boring, I want to do a few more things to it. Really, more often than not, just adding a little section of the house that maybe pops out like that, or from the side we do a similar thing. Like, it might seem a little overwhelming in terms of just the amount of things that we have coming out of the house, but having little sections of the house pop out from the side actually just adds a little bit of detail. It makes it look a little bit more interesting. That might look a bit weird, but I think you get the idea. So on the front here, instead of having these two gabled roofs like this, it might look a little bit, because they're different sizes, so it looks a bit weird. It might be a bit better to instead try and get a porch roof. So we'll get the roof coming along, and then we'd get it all the way flat. And then we'd probably bring in the eave here on the front, just so it doesn't overlap that roof. And then on the side, you can see it overlaps as well, so we might even bring that into there. And then that sort of creates a little porch that covers up this little section there. I don't like that bit on the side. But then you get this little porch area. And it's just, so what I like to do is, like I said, getting, just looking up for inspiration from images or even build videos or whatever it may be for you. And then just start with like a basic shape and start adding on to it. But with the roof, I always find you kind of have to tailor the builds towards the roof. If you're going for a flat roof, like a modern roof or something, that can sometimes be a little bit easier, because you might just do, like, for example, if we've got a flat roof on here, and we're using these flat floor pieces, which work quite well, and they're easy to just overlap and extend. Whoops. So we get this out here, and then we'd also have this probably come over the front. Let's just say like that. So then we have a flat roof, but then it might look a little bit boring. So what you'd want to do is probably get something along the lines of maybe a half wall up the top here, maybe only on a section of it, something like that. And then you could get, if you click on here, roof trims, get like a roof trim around it. And then you can also recolor the wall trim on the half wall. Anyway, these are all just kind of, I'm just showing you sort of quickly how you could change, I guess, change the look of the house, really. And you could even have a roof on this somewhere. I don't know. Like, this is not the best looking thing in the world, but I think you get the idea. Is like, you kind of just keep trying things, try a few different things. If it doesn't work out, you can always just start again, change it, add a bit here and there. Like around the back, it looks a bit bland, so maybe we would even add, I think it could look cool if we cut out a section here. So if we just build a room and then just delete the room, we'll actually just cut it in, and then you can have just a little bit more detail there. It just makes it look a little bit more interesting and gives it a bit more depth. Now, I mean, yeah, it's not the best looking house, but I think the principles are there. Now, if you do want some more in-depth tutorials on building, like I said, I have a whole playlist, and it covers things from how to do some advanced kitchen counter placements, how to scale objects in more depth, you know, understanding how, for example, just the rooms work. So this is a room in The Sims 4, right? And you can pick up and move the whole thing. I did a whole tutorial on how these work and how you can merge the rooms properly, so you can remove the wall. Like, I'm just doing this super quick, but there's a whole tutorial on doing that and how to work with the rooms. So one thing I actually forgot during that tutorial is that floor tiles. I get a lot of questions about floor tiles as well. Let's use this one here, for example. So by default, especially with wooden planks, you can see this in action. By default, the floor tiles always face the same way. However, you can rotate them if you want them to face a different direction. If you press the left or right little arrow keys, or the comma and the period keys on the keyboard, it'll actually rotate them. So you can go to the left, and you can just do that. Rotate them that way, and you can rotate them down. So you can have them facing sort of either direction, going vertically, or I guess the other vertical, and rotate them to the right. This is actually something that I'm pretty proud to say that Deligracy didn't know about, and I actually taught her this, and I think it was in one of the challenges we did, and she's like, what? So I'm pretty sure this has been a thing since The Sims 2. Or at the very least, Sims 3, you could do this. So you can rotate the floor tiles. The other question I get a lot as well is, how do you get diagonal floor tiles? Because you can obviously make diagonal floor tiles if you go... I think, actually, no, I don't think this does work, does it? No, this used to work in Sims 3. But if you had a diagonal room, you could get diagonal floor tiles. But if you press CTRL and F, it will turn it into a little quarter tile. And you can sort of start... Whoops. Well, not if you do that. It'll turn it into a little quarter tile, and you can start placing them in the diagonal fashion, just like that. And of course, you can rotate them still in the little diagonal form factor, so you could even, I don't know, do something like this, I guess. Get an interesting little custom pattern. I'm not doing this very well. Hang on. What's going on? Yeah, sure. Like that. Anyway, so that's how you get diagonal floor tiles. That's how you rotate floor tiles as well. And I think that just about covers it. There's a whole section of hidden items in the game as well that you can unlock and buy. And there's a tutorial on that as well. This is basically an advertisement to go check my other tutorials. It's just because, and the reason I'm doing this is just because I've had so many people ask lately, you know, how do you do this? How do you do that? And I've covered a lot of this stuff before, but not in one video. So I thought it'd be nice to do a general overview and then sort of also lead you on to some of the more in-depth stuff. I mean, I even have a tutorial on how to make custom paintings that you can put in the game. So I think I have them in here, do I? Yeah, so like this was a custom painting, like a basically custom content item that I made. And it's really easy to do this as well. So if you want to do that, I've got a tutorial on how to do exactly this. So you can get custom paintings in the game and do that. So even if you want to do something like that. And then I've got a tutorial on how to use a cinematic camera and how to build your own hospital or police station. There's a lot of stuff. So I do urge you to check that out if you're interested at all in learning some more things about The Sims 4 and how to do some different, maybe more interesting things as well. But I hope this quick overview and quick look at building / a few tips here and there helped you out. And if it did, thanks for watching, guys. That's all from me. So like I said, one last time, if you do want to learn more about any of these topics, I have a tutorial that covers it. I'll link the playlist down below and you can check it. Oh, actually, I'll link it on the screen as well. But thank you so much for watching, guys. I will see you next time and have an awesome day.